everyone, Rowan here, and today I'm doing my November wrap-up. This month I managed to read 16 books, which I'm actually pretty impressed with myself because it's been a pretty busy month. I didn't feel like I had enough time to actually read this amount of books, but when I went back to the beginning of the month and counted it up, that's how many it was, and I guess I'm just way cooler than I thought. Just so you guys know, on my book blog I did reviews for most of these books, so I will be putting the links below if you're interested and want to check them out. So the first book I read was Kiss of Deception by Mary Pearson. I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. I liked it. It was really fun and it was pretty exciting. So this book is about Princess Leia, who runs away on the day of her arranged marriage. And she goes to this town where she's going to hide with her friend and get a new identity and everything. But her father sends an assassin after her, and then the prince she was supposed to marry comes after her. And they run into her and figure out who she is and give her fake names and kind of hang around. The assassin obviously to kill her and the prince to just learn more about her because he's intrigued. The thing about this book, though, is when you're reading, the author doesn't tell you which is which, who's the prince and who's the assassin. So partway through this book, I decided which one was which. I knew, because there could be little hints when you're reading, and I said, okay, this one is the prince, this one's the assassin. Except at the end of the book, when the big reveal happens, I had them backwards. So, while I can appreciate the little trick she did there, it kind of ruined the book for me because suddenly everything that I thought I knew about a character was totally wrong. The next book that I read was Mortal Danger by Anna Guire. I gave this book 1 out of 5 stars. It's about a girl whose name I can't even remember and a guy whose name I can't remember either, so there you go. She is kind of chunky and she's really smart and she goes to this academy full of rich, beautiful people. And they pick on her, so she, at the beginning of the book, is going to kill herself. But before she jumps off the bridge, this beautiful, gorgeous boy appears out of nowhere. He tells her that he can give her 3 wishes in exchange for 3 favors later. And she, of course, accepts. And her first wish is to become unbelievably gorgeous, just like all the people she hated, so she can take revenge on them. And it makes you think it's gonna be kind of like a dark, gritty tale of revenge, because that's what I expected, and I was really excited for that. No, it was rotten. It basically was her talking the whole time about how she never would trust a pretty person, how much she hates, those people, and then she kind of becomes one of them, and her life magically gets a million times better just because she's attractive. Like, seriously, not even kidding. But here's the thing. There's obviously a supernatural twist, but it's weird. It is like the most random hodgepodge of supernatural paranormal things mishmashed together in this book in a way that doesn't even really make sense. So it had a rotten moral on top of just a really, really confusing, weird storyline. The next book I read was Half Bad by Sally Green. The book is about a boy whose father is like the blackest, darkest witch ever, not ever, but of their time right now, and his mother is a white witch. So he is kind of like a half-breed, and I say that not in a mean way. And it's really a sad book because he has to deal with so much hate and prejudice through his life because he is half black and half white witch. So he is basically treated awfully and all of his rights are taken away, and it's really just an awful tale of abuse, to be honest. And that was my favorite part, actually, was him growing up. After that, it slowed down a little bit and didn't keep my interest as well with what should be the main plot line. So I did only give it 3 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was Illusions of Fate by Kiersten White. This is a fantasy standalone novel. It's about a girl who moves to the city in a fantasy land and is kind of like Victorian era-esque. And she runs into a man, Finn, who she learns can do magic. And because he kind of likes her, she gets pulled into this war between good and evil, basically. And when I got this book, I saw it was really short and I felt kind of cheated because it's got a beautiful cover and it's got a time period I like. It's not a real time period, but kind of that style of Victorian. I really like that, and all the supernatural stuff. So I was really sad because I don't really do well with short standalone books. I didn't have many hopes for this, but I actually ended up loving it a lot more than I thought I would. It was really kind of a fun, easy read because it was a really interesting world, really interesting concepts, great characters. I thought it was great, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was Written in Red by Anne Bishop. Those of you that read my review of this book, you know that I absolutely loved it as just a book in general, fantasy, urban fantasy. So good. It was amazing. This book is about a woman named Meg who we find stumbling through the snow in the beginning, and she comes across Howling Good Reads, a bookstore in a district where people are allowed to come and shop and mingle with the others, which are basically just supernatural beings. But in this world, it's really cool because the others are terrifying. They are werewolves, they are vampires, but it's really, really great because people are scared of them because human law does not apply in their districts. So if a person comes in and is stealing, they'll eat them. Or if somebody's trespassing, they'll eat them. Or if anything happens they don't like, they'll eat them. This is technically adult, not young adult, but I recommend it for anybody that likes any sort of fantasy, paranormal, supernatural. Such a great read. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was Girl in Fire of Thorns by Rae Carson. I've heard so much about this series with the last book coming out recently, I believe, and I had to read it. I don't know if I just wasn't in the mood or if it just wasn't working for me, but I didn't finish this book like, I don't know, maybe 20 pages to the end. I really should have. I couldn't do it anymore. How the main character constantly was calling herself fat and talking about her weight and how ugly she was and how much she liked eating. And it felt very kind of depressing to me. And the story itself was just not engaging. So I might give it another try because too many people love this series and I feel like I'm missing out. So whatever the reason, I just couldn't do it. So I technically did not finish this book. I still liked certain parts of it, so I did give it 2 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was Her Dark Curiosity by Megan Shepherd. This is the second book in the Madman's Daughters series, which I loved. I thought the first one was great, and this one was better in some ways, worse in some ways. It takes place where the last book left off. She is in London now, living with one of her father's old friends who took her in, but her condition is getting worse and she's trying to find a cure for the experimenting her father did on her. And she realizes that there's this string of murders going on and all the people are somehow connected to her. They're all people that have done bad to her, and the way they are killed suggests that Edward is in London with her and killing all these people. It is really, really great, and I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was Murder of Crows by Anne Bishop. This is the sequel to Written in Red, and it was just as wonderful as the first one. I don't want to give anything away because if you plan on reading the first one, obviously telling you things about the second one is counterproductive. But it was great. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, amazing characters, great mystery. Really, please read these books, you guys. They are so good. The next book I read was Dorothy Must Die by Daniel Page. I've heard so many good things about this book, and I read the back and it talks about her having to go on this quest to like steal the lion's courage and cut out so-and-so's heart and all this stuff. This book was probably the biggest disappointment I've had in a while, if only because the back was totally misleading. I mean, the whole book I was waiting for her to go on this quest to kill these guys and take back their magical bits or whatever, and that doesn't happen. Like, the last 10 pages she is told, oh, well, to kill Dorothy you actually have to do this. So I don't know if they just accidentally put like the blurb for the second book on the first one, or if they just thought that the first one wasn't actually interesting enough as it was, so they put that on there to draw people in. I don't know, but I was really kind of pissed off, to be honest, because it wasn't what it said it would be. And then I didn't like it. I thought it was not good. No bueno. Definitely not good. It had lame characters, it was just kind of cheesy, and there was no depth to it at all. And any characters that were semi-interesting were just like killed off like 10 minutes after meeting them. It was very annoying for me. I gave Dorothy Must Die 1 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was Red Rising by the ever swoony author Pierce Brown. I loved this book. It's about a boy named Darrow who is mining under the surface of Mars to terraform it to make it okay for people to come over and live there. But through a series of unfortunate events, see what I did there? Anyways, he finds himself becoming part of a rebellion, and they take him to the surface and show that people have already been living there. I mean, they've been there forever, and they are living in luxury while Darrow and his people are living on rations, slaving away, dying under the surface. So he becomes one of the high-ranking golds and gets put in like a competition for the young golds to try to compete against each other for a place in society when they're done, basically. And it was so good. It was dark, it was thought-provoking, it was sad, it was emotional, it was interesting, it was so great. This was definitely the best book I read this month, and I'm so sad that I waited so long to read it, but I pre-ordered Golden Son, the second book, and I am beyond excited. I obviously gave this one 5 out of 5 stars. It was great. The next book I read was Sweet Evil by Wendy Higgins, and I found this book to be really funny, actually. It cracked me up. Like, it was hilarious just because it was so cliche and it was so exactly what I expected. But it was just funny because it was like I already knew how the book was going to go and I was dead on. Sweet Evil is about a girl named Anna who is like a perfect angel. She doesn't do drugs, she doesn't drink, she doesn't even smooch boys, she's a virgin, all this stuff, and she is just sweet as pie, like, makes my teeth hurt sweet. And she finds out that she is actually the offspring of a demon and an angel, and she is supposed to be doing her demon daddy's work, and he is the Duke of Addiction or Alcohol or something like that. So she's supposed to be boozing it up and whipping out the cocaine and encouraging other people to do that, except she is like angelic. So she meets smoldering hot something sexy Lord of Lust son. I don't even need to explain from there. You guys, I'm pretty sure, know how that book is going to go, so yeah. So next I actually decided to marathon The Lyburn Legacy by Sarah Rees Brennan. So I started that off with Unspoken, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars. It's about a girl named Cammie who has had an imaginary friend her whole life. She can hear him in her head, they talk to each other, but then one day she actually runs into him in the flesh and they find out that they are real, which is kind of alarming. And she lives in this little town where this huge powerful family that basically rules the town comes back, and with it they bring magic. I thought this book was really fun. Cammie was a really spunky, cute heroine. I really thought that she was refreshing and interesting, and Jared, the boy that she shares the mind connection with, was fun as well, and their chemistry and interacting is just hilarious. They crack me up. I was laughing out loud like through these whole books, just cackling. Then the second one is Untold. This one I also gave 4 out of 5 stars. I really liked it. I thought it was interesting and fun. I liked it because it added a lot of character depth that we didn't get in the first book, but it was a little, see this triangle I'm drawing? That's a love triangle. And then I finished the marathon with Unmade, the last book in the trilogy, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It was a little anticlimactic as the last book of a trilogy, but I find that I'm disappointed by that a lot. I don't know if it's just me or if I just have a problem with endings. I don't really know, but the Cammie and Jared were so hot and cold the whole time. I mean, they're just smooching and then hating each other, and then smooching and then hating each other, and then misunderstanding and then smooching and then hating each other. And it got really annoying by book 3 because they're doing it through the whole series. And then book 3, it's still going on, and I'm just like, holy crap, you guys. We know you love each other. Everybody gets that. Will you please just stop? I mean, that was just, ugh. So this one got 3 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was Alice in Zombieland by Gina Showalter. I've heard so much about these series, and I was really, really excited to read this one because I love Alice in Wonderland. However, this book doesn't actually have any connection to Alice in Wonderland besides a few little like hidden Easter eggs in there. But it is about zombies, which I'd never really read a book about before and was just as cool as I expected. This book is about a girl named Allie Bell, Allie, and her family dies in a car crash. Except she actually sees her father laying on the pavement being devoured by monsters. Monsters that he swore up and down were real and nobody really believed him. But now she can see them and she doesn't know what's going on, except she finds answers in the eyes of a steamy boy who she has a weird love connection with. The thing about this book was that it made me love things that I swore to hate. I have made a solemn vow to myself to never, ever, ever support a love triangle or an insta-love situation. But in this one, I kind of am ashamed of myself. I liked the insta-love, I liked the horrible cliche characters, I liked the cheesy high school drama. I really liked this book. I can look at it from a technical book reviewer point of view and say, ew, this is wrong, this is lame, this is stupid. But at the end of the day, I still busted through this book in like 3 hours and laid in my bed cackling and giggling and blushing over steamy makeout scenes, and I really liked it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And the last book that I read this month was Jackaby by William Ritter. I love this cover. I was really intrigued by the synopsis because it basically implies that this book is about a guy who is like a supernatural detective, Sherlock Holmes, Victorian era sort of man, and there's a woman that comes to work with him, and so mystery and supernatural stuff, and I was so excited. I was not excited by how short this book is. I don't even think it's like 300 pages. Let's see. It is just shy of 300 pages. Again, my problem with short books. But I was willing to give it a chance after I read Illusions of Fate, which I really liked. This one, however, was not so good. It was so short and it seemed so quick that I felt like the mystery was just there and then over, and it wasn't really a well-written mystery. There weren't like clues so you could actually figure out who the bad guy was or anything like that. It was just kind of like a huge rush, and it was so short that I felt like I didn't even get to know any of the characters, even though I was interested by them. And there were so many questions that were left unanswered. So I don't know if there's going to be like sequels or anything. I can't find any information about it. If you guys know, please let me know, because I would be interested because I want to learn more. But as just a standalone, it was very unsatisfying, so I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. Alright, you guys, so those are the books I read for November. Comment below, let me know what you guys read and if you found anything great. And if you've read any of these books, feel free to let me know what you thought about them as well. As always, thanks for watching, and see you guys next time.